Schwanier, series veteran, move into the points lead with the win. His teammate, Noah Lawler, currently tied for second in points after a second place finish there. Not so lucky in the opener in the snow. The man he's tied with, Carl Scheibel. He did well in the snow, not so good in Oregon in the mud. Went off, that was it for him there. Man in fourth place, and looking to change it, Pete Lahm. Welcome to round 3, the Hyundai Rim of the World SCCA Pro Rally. From rainy Oregon to sunny California, we're in Palmdale for the Hyundai SCCA Pro Rally Rim of the World event. 296 rough road miles await the drivers here tonight. You know, we'd heard reports there were a few rocks out on the road. This is the middle of one of tonight's stages. This is going to be interesting. They're going to start out tonight in Palmdale, quick spectator stage, then head into the mountains for 118 miles before they start again tomorrow for another 178. Before they hit the roads, let's get a quick word with some of the top drivers. The man who took the win here, Rim of the World, last year, Garen Schrader. Garen, you've told me you're going to be working for the championship win this year. What's the plan here tonight to start that out?
Tonight it's going to be important to go fast, but of course be careful. It's a very rough event. You got to be careful with the car. I think what my game plan is to try to really pay attention to Paul and Noel's times, try to stay tight with them and let it be tomorrow when we really do the big battle.
Good plan if he can make it work. The guys with the most experience, the Hyundai team, told us what it's worth.
Well, we've been here 9 of the last 10 years at Rim, and it helps in a big way because the roads here are very demanding on both driver and the car, and it's very important to know how to pace yourself. So I'm going to use my experience here and not my speed, hopefully, to win this time.
On the other end of the scale, sophomore driver Carl Scheibel has a realistic approach.
The plan tonight is to get points. We don't want to come out west and spend all this time not to go home with points. So we're going to take it a little easy and make sure we take something home.
As Miss Palmdale does the honors at the spectator stage, Noel Lawler will be first on the road tonight.
It's going to be an awful rough rally, and you know, if we can kind of maintain some sort of pace out here with myself and Paul and the Schraders and all the people that are there, there's a bunch of really good cars out here. We'd like to try and keep ahead of most of them tonight.
We'll be right back with the night stages. This Speed Vision Rally event is brought to you by Hyundai. Driving is believing. And by Falcon Tire. Performance never looked so good. And by the Sports Car Club of America. Noel Lawler, first on the road as he sets off on this asphalt stage, an unusual thing to see on the rally circuit, but he has had some experience.
Yeah, more aggressive. Everything you can do is more precise, whereas in the gravel it's a lot looser and you have a lot more pendulum effect, whereas on the asphalt you just go really deep in the brakes, come out as quick as you can, and you know, try and carry as much speed through the corner because the car won't slide and slip as much as will in the gravel.
His teammate not quite so comfortable on the pavement.
I'm not planning on going out and being the fastest car tonight. I'm hoping to stay within reach of whoever's going to be fast, and then tomorrow's stages play very well into my driving style, so that's where I'll be looking to make up some time if need be.
It's tough to make up time on these tight, twisty asphalt roads. Behind him, Pete Lahm makes his way up the ridge. And you can see it's not all asphalt out here either. That makes tire choice really difficult. Garen Schrader told us about it earlier.
We run gravel tires that are scuffed a little bit. They've been used on gravel. They're not brand new. But really, you change your driving style a little bit, and I had a problem with it last year on the asphalt here on Friday night. And so I think back at the things last year that we did, and those are the things I'll be paying attention to this year.
really keeps them on their toes. Carl Scheibel now. This guy's a driving instructor at Watkins Glen. He knows what he's doing here on the pavement as well as the dirt. Tony Chavez next up the hill. Had a lot of experience here at RIM, looking for a good result. Behind him, George Plasek, Southern California driver, knows the roads. And Paul Eklund, he's had some mechanical problems earlier in the season, looking to finish well here. Eric Eaton, a relative rookie in the season, comes from motocross. And there's problems already out on the course. Noel Lawler stopped. We've heard he has a power problem with the electrical system. His teammate Paul Schwanier giving us a view there. Doesn't look good for Noel. Now, back on the course, Paul Schwanier, as he makes his way through towards the finish of the first set of stages, not using all his driving lights, though. He may have electrical problems as well. Pete Lahm next through. Then we've got Garen Schrader really pushing there. Looks like he's trying to make up some time. Carl Scheibel gets himself through, and that will take them into service, where Paul Schwanier has got a big problem on his hands.
The gauge showed about 8 volts on the gauge when I got here. I've never seen it so low before, but we were lucky. We made it in, and we got a change. It looks to be fixed now, so we should be all set for the rest of the night.
No such luck for Noel Lawler. The racing alternator was not able to keep up with the load of the lights, and he's done for the night. Garen Schrader having a fun time out there, but I think he found that rock we saw earlier.
Car's running good. We hit a very large rock this big, and it loosened the steering wheel up a little bit, but the guys have straightened it out, and everything looks fine.
All part of the fun of rally. Over in two-wheel drive, we've got Carl Yardeval out in front, burning up the asphalt here in his car. Behind him, Andrew Havis having a great run so far, making his way through the night. And Thomas Lillequist also having a good run. Tough night, though, for Doug Schrank in the Saab. He's barely keeping it running. They had to wrap a wet rag around the distributor to keep it from melting. Trouble, too, for Ralph Cosmides. He threw a belt, lost 35 minutes earlier in the night. That's going to put him way back. Up in the front, though, Paul Schwanier still running well after he got that alternator fixed. The lights are back up to full power. Makes it a whole lot easier out here in the dark. He finishes up 49 minutes, .40. The time to beat as Pete Lahm comes through just after him here. 53.55, a big margin there. Garen Schrader looking to push hard and try and make up the gap here as he comes along. He's pushing just a little too hard. He's missed the turn there. They've got to go back. That's going to cost him some time. He is now getting incredibly frustrated here as he's trying to make his way through the dark, through the dust, to catch up with Paul Schwanier, who he knows is about 3 minutes ahead of him. Back on board here with Garen Schrader as he makes his way along. You can see the roads are really rough here. He's fighting to keep out of the silt. Yep, just slides it off. That's all it takes. He is stuck. That is going to be it. It's going to be real tough to get out of there. He is high-sided right on that berm. Doesn't look like much, but it's definitely going to be a problem for him. Carl Scheibel next on the road, though, as he heads toward the finish of the night stages. We'll check his time. 52.55, so he's getting a little closer to Schwanier out front. George Plasek running through here next. He's lost his turbo earlier in the evening. He's really down on power. 59.09, still an excellent time for him. Eric Eaton comes through, finishing up next. He's had a pretty good night so far, no problems. That's 90% of the battle here. Kept it on the road, 53.90, an excellent time. So the order, Paul Schwanier, Carl Scheibel, Carl Yardeval in the Group 5 car, Lofton O'Sullivan in the PGT car, and Pete Lahm. But the high desert has started to take its toll, as Paul Eklund found out earlier in the evening. Radiator hose blew on stage 3. That was pretty much it for his day. He was able to limp the car out, but he is finished tonight. Another rally tip, make sure you check the gas gauge. Tony Chavez ran out, cost him about 10 minutes to get refueled. But the biggest disappointment has to be Garen Schrader, still stuck on the berm.
Just went a little wide, caught this little berm, and it was just enough to keep us on the edge. The stage before, we had missed a call and went off course a little bit and lost some time, and I think I left my head there as well.
Don't leave us. We'll be right back for leg 2 stages. We're back in Palmdale, California for the Hyundai SCCA Rim of the World Pro Rally. The defining feature of the roads here at the Hyundai Rim of the World Rally is where I'm standing right now. There are thousands of these out here on the roads. They're put in to keep the roads from washing away. Not a big deal in a passenger car. In a race car, it's a real problem. The Forest Service calls these water bars. The drivers call them car breakers. The first driver on the road today is going to be Paul Schwanier. After a victory last night, he's looking to keep his first place on the road, avoid the heavy dust, which will be encountered today as the roads dry out and heat up. On board, he's making his way up the famous Del Sur Ridge. This is one of the toughest rally stages in the country. Giant water bars and huge drop-offs on either side are pretty much the norm up here on Del Sur. It takes an incredible amount of concentration just to keep these cars on the road. Carl Scheibel next up the ridge as he makes his way along. Having a great night last night, second place overall. He's happy with that.
Paul's pretty fast. We're happy with second place, and we're just going to keep the car in the middle of the road and try not to break anything today.
A tall order out here in these incredibly rough roads, but he seems to be taking it nicely, moving his way along up to the ridge now, getting up there in elevation. It gets a little flatter and a little straighter once you get up top here, but the drop-offs also increase. Carl Scheibel's got an interesting driving style. He's a lot smoother than some of the other guys. Doesn't slide the car around as much, not as much wheel spin, but he gets the job done. Pete Lahm comes through next. He's had a lot of experience at Rim. He almost finished second last year, except for some problems in the last stage. We caught up with him earlier in the day.
What's the toughest thing about the Rim roads here?
Water bars, rocks that get flipped up that are huge when you least expect them, and it's a very tough event. It's hot, it's dry, it's dusty, and you just really need to stay on top of it at all times.
Looks like he's doing exactly that here. George Blasek got his turbo fixed, back to full power. He's using every bit of it on the road here today.
I expect it to be a little smoother today, a little faster, especially the first turnaround stage we're doing today. Then things get really tight and twisty and kind of slow and rough as well.
Next guy up, Eric Eaton. He's happy to be running up here with the big guys away from some of the dust back in the pack. Up on the ridge, gets through a water bar. Whoa! Up into the berm there. That's the problem with these water bars. You're airborne about half the time. For motorcycle racing, I guess so, he must be used to that. Back on board with Paul Schwanier, heading back on the turnaround here. Stage 8.
What's that? I don't know. Something's falling off in the back. Maybe a skid plate? Suspension. With a whole nother stage to go.
That's the voice of experience right there.
In 30, yum.
This guy knows he has a big problem. He's slowing it down, trying to save the car. You can see the left rear there. Yeah, he's definitely lost that suspension altogether with one of the toughest stages just ahead of him after this. On board with Carl Scheibel in the Falcon camera now. We can see him closing the gap. The dust is getting thicker. There's Schwanier just in front of him. He is going to make the pass and get by. That has got to feel good for Carl as he's got a clear road ahead of him. No dust. He'll be first guy on the road. A big advantage out here in the desert. Next guy on the road, Pete Lahm doesn't yet know about Schwanier's problem. He's going to be finding out pretty quick, though, as he comes up behind him. It's a little tricky to get by here. There's not a lot of room to pass and a lot of steep drop-offs. It's going to be a tough job. Schwanier does the right thing, moves over, lets Lahm by. He's able to make up some time himself now. Over in two-wheel drive, Carl Yardeval having a great day so far, gets by Schwanier as well in his high seat there, but now he's got trouble himself. Rear suspension problems for Yardeval. That's going to cost him a lot of time. That gives Thomas Lillequist a chance to jump out into the lead in the two-wheel drive classes, and he is not wasting any time taking advantage of that. Another guy having fun, Jay Streets, moving up the order as he takes it sideways. And Ralph Cosmides has gone from 25th place up to 14th. An incredible jump from him. He'll have a tough time making up the deficit he lost last night, though. Back out in the front, Carl Scheibel, still no problems. He managed to take advantage of the open road. No dust for him still, so he's making great progress coming through on the stage. They're just on this one long stage before service, and he's taking every advantage of it as we come up on the onboard now towards the finish of stage 9. Carl's got to be loving the situation. Open road ahead of him. The time, 1 hour 36.96. That may be the time to beat. Pete Lahm, though, on the overhead view, you can really get a sense of how tight and twisty this stage really is. These roads just turn right into each other, and it makes driving really tough. There's a lot of silt out here, a lot of thick dust, and that's going to slow him down. He's got to be happy with the situation, though. He knows Schwanier is having problems. He's looking to see if he can actually take the win himself. 1 hour, 38 minutes, .44. George Plasek now as he makes his way towards the finish of stage 9 as well, also gotten by Schwanier, also having a fairly dust-free ride. The wind's taken away a lot of the dust that was hanging in the woods last night. 1 hour, 39.77. Eric Eaton next through at the finish here of stage 9. He's looking to make up some time. 1 hour, 38.44. So the Falcon race report. Carl Scheibel, Pete Lahm is tied with Eric Eaton now, George Plasek, and Pat Richard. Eric Eaton was happy with that.
Oh, I don't think it hurts to have high kind of expectations. So we started pretty aggressive and crashed a lot, and now we found where the zone is, and I think we're doing pretty well at it to stay in there.
Another guy staying in there, Paul Schwanier, has made it to service against incredible odds. He's lost some time, but he's still in the hunt for manufacturer points.
So shortly after the start of stage 8, the left rear shock broke, and I took the very conservative approach, trying to get it into the finish here at the service area so we could fix it and continue on. Manufacturers' championship points are very important, so even if we're not in the top 10, it'll still be worthwhile.
The final 4 stages when we come back. Each week we like to take you behind the scenes of pro rallying in a segment we call Rally Dirt. This week we got to attend a homecoming of sorts as the Hyundai factory team paid a visit to the Southern California headquarters of Hyundai Motor America. Gave the employees a chance to check out the racing machines and meet the drivers and co-drivers of the #1 team in pro rally. Vice President of Marketing Dave Weber told us about Hyundai's commitment to rally.
As you may know, we have rally teams that race all over the world, but specifically here in the United States, this is our 5th year. Libra Racing is entering the 2 cars on our behalf and are just doing a tremendous time. We look forward to a very successful season again, and certainly are going to take a strong stand in defending our Manufacturers' Championship title.
By the look of things, there were some new drivers being recruited as well. Overall, the event was a big hit and a good opportunity to bring the sport of rally home to the people who make it all possible. Back out on the stages now as Carl Scheibel heads off on stage number 10. These are 2 long, twisty stages running through the mountains just north of Palmdale. These guys are going to have to work hard as the sun gets lower in the sky, starts to get into their eyes, makes the road a little bit harder to read. He's having a good time, though, as he makes his way through the water bars, the tight, twisty sections. You can see there's no room to slide the car sideways in any way here. Fits his driving style well. Pete Lahm, next on the road, tied in the number 2 position behind Carl Scheibel. He seems to be still working well through the rough stuff. And George Plasek running 3rd on the road. There's no reseed until the dinner break. He's taking advantage of his position on the road. Back on board with Paul Schwanier. He's got his problem all fixed, and he is working very hard to make up time here. You can see him throwing it through these tight, twisty sections. He's got the experience to do this safely, but it still is an incredible handful for him. You can see he's pushing as hard as I've ever seen him push here, looking to make up some of the 18 minutes he's lost. In production GT, Lachlan O'Sullivan. He's been having a great day last night. He was up in the 5th position at one point overall, but we understand he's having clutch problems that may slow him down. Whoa, Pat Richard here. Behind him on the road, he is not wasting any time. Pat got a little air earlier in the day, managed to put out one of his right front tires. That cost him some time. Back at the front of the pack, though, Carl Scheibel still having a trouble-free day in the Evo as he makes his way towards the finish of stage 11. Still incredibly tight, not much room to slide the car at all, a lot of dust. He comes up in the finish, and the Falcon onboard camera will check his time. 2 hours, 6 minutes, .35. That's hundredths of a minute. Behind him, Pete Lahm in the nearly identical Evo. As he makes his way to the finish of the stage, he's pushing hard here. You can see he's got a taste that he might be able to make up that gap. 2 hours, 6 minutes, .33. He's closer, but not yet enough. George Plasek behind them as he comes through. He's pushing too. These guys have all got the idea the leader is not going to be Paul Schwanier, and they want a piece of it. 2 hours, 9 minutes, .15. Eric Eaton. Now, some guys have suggested this smaller, lighter car may be an advantage for him on these tight, twisty roads. I think it's just an incredible drive from a rookie driver. He comes to the finish now. 2 hours, 7 minutes, .19. That puts him in second overall. But Paul Schwanier's still on the road, still making up a huge amount of time. Except he's got dust now in front of him. He's catching somebody. This is a problem for Paul because he needs to make up the time to try and climb back to some semblance of the lead in order to get some points. It's Pat Richard in front of him. Pat had stopped, we understand, to give Laughlin O'Sullivan, his rival, a tow, an incredible gesture, but it's causing some problems right here for Schwanier as he comes up to the very finish of the stage. He can barely see what he's doing. He's just pushing that hard. An incredible drive here in the dust. So the Hyundai race report. Carl Scheibel out front, Eric Eaton a fantastic second, Pete Lahm third, George Plasek fourth, Pat Richard in fifth. He told us about his sportsmanlike gesture.
We came upon Laughlin O'Sullivan, who's also in production GT class. They were hanging the tow rope out, so we thought we'd hitch up. We thought we were running further back in the pack. Towed him for about a mile or so, and lost about a minute and a half overall, and we dropped quite a few places. But it turns out in the national, we went down, from probably third or fourth to fifth or sixth. So not so bad, but we feel pretty good. So we're pretty stoked. We've never been running this high at a national before, so pretty happy.
The cleanest car in the paddock's got to be Carl Scheibel's. He's got the manpower for the job.
I knew it was going to be a rough event. We actually brought 4 mechanics to this event, and they've gone through this car every time we come in. I have total confidence that the car is perfect. So to be in this position, we'll take it and try and hold them off.
The headlights go on as we get ready for the final 2 in the dark.
The Sports Car Club of America is your ticket to the pit lane and the fast lane. If you'd like SCCA membership,
take it and try and hold them off.
The headlights go on as we get ready for the final 2 in the dark.
the Sports Car Club of America is your ticket to the pit lane and the fast lane. If you'd like SCCA membership information, call this.
I see better at night, I think. Maybe it's psychological, I don't know, but I get really focused and have no trouble going as fast as I can at night.
Seems to be doing just that. Co-driver Russ Hughes gives the thumbs up as they head for the finish line. 2 hours, 35 minutes, .67. That time is going to be hard to beat. Pete Lahm is trying to do just that in the nearly identical Evo. As he heads into the finish line, you can see how deep the silt is there. These guys just get trapped in that stuff. Makes it hard to keep the momentum up. His time at the line, 2 hours, 37 minutes, .50. Just slightly slower. Behind him, George Plasek, as he makes his way along. He's heading to try and get third place out of this deal. 2 hours, 39.49. That may be good enough. Behind him, Paul Schwanier, still desperately trying to make up time he lost with a broken suspension earlier. As he heads through the deep dust and silt here, throws the car around. He's really fighting hard for this one. 2 hours, 51 minutes, .38. That will be good enough for manufacturer points, and that's what they need. The champagne is out back at Palmdale as Carl Scheibel takes the win. Pete Lahm second, George Plasek third, Pat Richard an incredible fourth, and Eric Eaton in his rookie season, fifth place. And Carl Scheibel is one happy guy.
It was extremely rough. The roads were very, very difficult. The car has a lot more rattles in it now than we first started, but we just hung in there and just kept charging. We had the charge and ended up winning. We're very excited.
In driver's points, Paul Schwanier just 1 point ahead of Carl Scheibel. Pete Lahm in third, George Plasek fourth, and Noel Lawler down in fifth place. Manufacturer's points, Hyundai, Subaru, Mitsubishi, and Toyota. Join us Friday, May 23rd at 10 p.m. as we go east to the STPR event. This is Doug Plummer for our entire Speed Vision television crew. We'll see you next time we go rally.